Hey everybody, this is voiceover Annie Noodle, and you could probably tell from the title of this video, this is a story of the sad downfall of our chimera friend here. So here I'm working on giving him his little dragon tail, and that never actually got finished because I got distracted in the middle of the dragon tail, and I thought, well, I'll use this epoxy sculpt and make him some little feet. Just, and there. I broke the leg off because I was holding it in an awkward way. And I was like, okay, I'll keep working and, I can work with, up. And then I just tapped the other leg on the table. It wasn't even rough. And yeah, I did try to kind of attach them again and it did not go well. And yeah. No. Figures. I don't want to do figures in plaster. It's too fragile for me. I have no desire to try to fight that battle again. I'm really sad about the chimera. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it because I have an idea that the other two legs are going to break off too. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. I got frustrated and I had a whole bunch of epoxy sculpt that had already mixed up, and you have to use that because it will harden. And so I started a different sculpture. And the thing that I started is a carrot. So he's a little rat and he's a little carrot. Here I'm making his little ear. And this is all I wasn't thinking about what I was doing at this point. So that's a solid lump of epoxy sculpt, and I could have definitely made a little armature in the middle to save some, but I just had a whole bunch of it and I wasn't expecting to. So look at how cute he's looking. So I eventually put a layer of that's cause clay on top of the epoxy sculpt, and then I baked it without thinking. And the nice thing about cause clay and epoxy sculpt is that you can sand them, you can sculpt them, you can carve them. And so here I'm just putting in some little carrot lines by sanding. And you can drill it. So I'm using a little pin vise drill thing to just drill his little whiskers in, so that there will be places to I was gonna attach whiskers, but I realized I didn't have anything good for whiskers except for wire, and I didn't want him to be pokey, so he doesn't actually get whiskers right now. He might get some later, but it's okay. He turns out cute in the end. I have started learning some interesting things about sculpting during this process, and one of them is it's really a lot easier to sculpt feet if you sculpt them separately and then attach them later. So that's what I'm doing here. This is the tiniest I have worked, and it took some getting used to. I'm really happy with how he turned out, but there were definitely some challenges and definitely a learning curve trying to figure out. I still don't really know what I'm doing with sculpting, so I was like, oh, I'll just sculpt this super tiny thing. And this is a little silicone baking tray that I have, and I'm just putting him in there to see how he will sit, because I want him to sit flat. So I'm checking to make sure his little toes go where they're supposed to. Let's see, what else can I tell you about? If you watched my studio tour, you know that I got a new printer, and I have been spending a lot of time battling to get that thing working, and oof, I got one print out of it last night. I had my friend come over and he helped me, and he managed to get one thing printed, but it's a really nice printer. So I should be able to do a lot of fussing and fidgeting to make sure things are printing right, and yeah, it's not going well. Here I am putting in the eyes, and I wish I had done them differently because they weren't as round and happy and shiny as I wanted them to be. I mean, if you know what rat eyes look like, they're basically cute little black, shiny spheres. And yeah, these do not turn out as shiny black spheres. I actually ended up painting them brown, like a dark brown, because I felt like black would be too contrasty with the rest of the paint job I did. Yeah. And they do get shiny, but they definitely did not get as rounded as I think they should have been. He's still cute though. I have no complaints about how he ended up looking. And here I am trying out the other foot to see if the size is right before I start sculpting it. Oh, so I watched, I think it was a Josh Foreman video, and he said, hey, before you add a new lump of clay to your already existing sculpture, it's a lot easier if you like really, really flatten the ends, like the edges of it. So I've been doing that with this one, and it's been really helping. Like, I don't know why. I didn't even like, usually when I see people add, mass or add digits or limbs or whatever onto their sculpture, they just kind of smush stuff on, and it never occurred to me to just kind of smooth the edges. I don't know. Like, it seems to really be helping. So here I'm sculpting another little footy. And the way I'm doing it is like using that little like stabby pin stick thing. I'm sure there's a name for it. To kind of work the toes apart, and then just using my hands to kind of round the toes and lengthen them. And this works really well. And I can use the little stabby stick too to like try to round things also. And I do that a lot more with his even tinier front foot, which we'll get to in a minute. Yeah. But the toes here, there's not enough of them. I think rats might have 5 toes on the front and back. But he's got 4. He's okay, though. Trust me. So yeah, I'm just trying to make these look kind of root vegetably, not necessarily like toes. So it's not as hard as sculpting actual toes would have been probably. So that's why I'm adding these lines on there too. Just adding carrot lines. And then I don't just attach the leg right away because I know that I'm just going to smash it. So I wait as long as possible. And here I am sculpting his, look at how tiny that thing is. That's his little paw. So this one I kind of sculpt more by holding it against my finger because it's just so much easier with that little bit of extra stability. Yeah, I can't even tell you how nerve-wracking it was to sculpt that little foot, and it's not even detailed. Yeah. So here I am using that pin tool to round things because my fingers were just too giant to get in there like they needed to. Oh, I do also want to say that Nerdecrafter's kit was awesome. Like, just because I don't like sculpting on a plaster base for figures. Oh, and here I am rounding his little toes around that pin tool because I want him to have kind of like a half closed hand. So there you go. That's how I did that. Yeah, so Nerdecrafter's kit is awesome. I think I'm just not a fan of plaster figures. Yeah, I will definitely be using plaster to work 2-dimensionally. I think it's really going to be fun. And there are a lot of really cool molds that came with her kit that I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with. And there's a whole bunch of other tools, including most of the tools that I'm using in this video that also came with her kit. So the kit's awesome. I am just not a fan of plaster figures. Yeah. But in case you were wondering, it is a cool kit. And I definitely think it's worth the money that I paid for it. And the airbrush, which I will get to in this video still, that came with the kit is really fun. And yeah, I'll talk about that when I get there. I am adding a little bit of bulk to his underarms because that one has already baked and it got a little crack because it just got pulled apart from the base of the figure. So I'm just filling in that little crack with some more little muscles. Yes, very muscly little rat. And then this, I'm just bulking out his other forearm because it was looking very, very noodly and limp. So, Yeah. So in case you see this video and are like, well, her thing failed from the Nerdecrafter kit, that is not me saying that the kit's bad. It's a great kit. And I know that there are still some left in case you're thinking about getting one. So, I will leave a link for that in the description. The cosplay that I'm using here too, that came in the kit. Like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff in that kit. I think those blue tools came with this kit that you see sitting there. There's so many tools, and I got two of her kits and pretty close to each other, so I'm not 100% sure, but if you go to look at the kit, it tells you everything that's in there. I know that the really awesome rainbow colored tools that are sitting just off camera came with this kit, and they are very pretty and make a lovely sound, so... I didn't record sculpting his little face and his teeth, but look at how cute they are. For a lot of the sculpt, I was worried that he was looking too much like a pig, so I was definitely trying to figure out ways to make him look more like a rat. Also, I really wanted to say thank you guys for continuing to be patient with me. I know this video is coming out a little bit later than I wanted to. I am working out kinks in my life still. That's all I can tell you. And it didn't help that, like, I was expecting to get the chimera done, and that didn't happen. So I had to kind of wing it. And I have seriously spent at least 10 hours fighting with my printer in the last week and a half. And, yeah. It's exhausting. So here I am attaching his little paw onto his forearm, and I think that was honestly the hardest part of this entire sculpture. It was so hard not to smash his little tiny paw, like trying to get that, especially like his back leg isn't baked right now either, so like the two legs on this side are still uncured. The two legs on the other side are fine, like they're not going anywhere, but yeah. This is the hardest part, I think, of the whole sculpture, was just trying to, like, breathe through this process of very carefully attaching that tiny, tiny paw to the tiny, tiny arm. Oh my goodness. I am not built for that. I'm gonna sculpt bigger things. I say that, but I'm probably gonna sculpt tiny things too. It was actually kind of fun. I like the challenge of trying to sculpt really tiny. So if you look in the background there, I kind of like my desk is still scattered with like the broken remains of various quadruped plaster people. So that's the main part of the carrot done, and now I am working on his tail. And his tail itself was an exercise in failure at first too. So here I just rolled out a noodle and I made this, like, because I want his tail to look like a, like, clump of greenery from a carrot. So I made one main tail part, and then I was like, and then I'll have a bunch of little tail parts coming off of it. And because this is cosplay, if you put wire in it, you can then bend it and it'll stay in place, because cosplay stays flexible after you cure it. Unlike regular Sculpey, which is, pretty rigid. So I was like, okay, I can do this, like, I'll do this interesting, like, tail that you can bend, and, I mean, I don't know if you're seeing this, but it is ugly. Woof! I spent a lot of time trying to smooth this. Oh, hi, kitty. And it stayed ugly. It stayed ugly. Yeah? Are you saying hi, my meow? Yeah. Don't lick the rat. Don't lick the rat, cat. No, no. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. No. So this is attempt number 2 at the tail after I realized how completely awful the first attempt was, and it just was not getting better. And this one I liked. This one I kept. So only 2 attempts, and I know that even like seasoned professional sculptors occasionally have to rip everything apart and start over, so I really shouldn't be upset. So for this one, I just did the main part of the tail in wire, and then the other parts I just left as just cosplay noodles with leaves on them, and I think it actually turned out pretty good. The leaves I made by splopping a little bit of clay down on my finger and then just ripping little leafy shapes into it. And then I usually like pressed a little kind of main stem in there, and then I just stuck it onto the main stem of the tail bit. I don't really know how to talk about that. Stuck leaves on the tail. It worked. Yeah. If you guys have any questions about what I'm doing here, just let me know. I'm trying to explain the best I can, but I'm new to this, so. So I think I've talked about this, but in Mankato here where I live, there is it's called the Fine Arts Festival, and it's the last weekend in November, and I have a booth there, and it is like my first kind of big, like, I actually paid for this booth, right? Like a decent amount of money. It's not like a $10 entrance fee sort of small thing. There's going to be a lot of people there, and I am very nervous about it, and that is why I got a new printer, so that I could sell prints there, and also get prints up on my website finally. And I am so nervous because I'm having such a hard time getting my printer working, and I feel like everything is fighting me, and it's only like 2.5 weeks, and I am super not ready. Oh my gosh. Okay. And yeah, if any of you happen to be in Minnesota, definitely stop by my booth. Would love to see you. So I should be able to get a video out this week at a fairly normal time. I'm thinking Friday. And it's going to be a kind of interesting video that hopefully will be very informative. I'm not going to tell you what it is. It's going to be a surprise. But it is something that I have tried to find information on before on YouTube and really struggled to find good videos on it. So I figured I could do that. Here I'm attaching the base of the tail. Again with cosplay, and I love that little triangle shaped tool that I'm using. Like, that's probably like one of my favorite tools now. Yeah. So he is not baked yet, so I am putting him in his little baking tray. And I think I might have mentioned this, but like my actual oven is not functional right now. I think like the ignition isn't working right because it doesn't heat up past like 100 degrees. It just doesn't actually bake. Yeah, so I'm using my toaster oven for everything, so it's actually good that feel like sculpting small right now, because I can't fit a lot in my toaster oven. So, but this little tray fits really well on my toaster oven, and it's silicone, so it's made for baking. And it's not something that he'll stick to, and he doesn't get burned on it, so that's nice. Like, if he was sitting on metal, I think his little leaves would have burned. But yeah. Yeah, and so this is post-baking. I also put some white primer on him, and now this is my first time using a airbrush. Woo! And the airbrush itself is awesome. I think I'm gonna really like it once I get used to it. But I don't know that I like that it came with inks, and you will see later. So the way that I paint is I put down a base coat, and then I put down like a few more layers with the airbrush. I'm sure he's like, oh, I can't believe you're filming this. The indignity. I'm like laying here all exposed. Poor little carrot. Yeah. But yeah, so the problem with the airbrush is that these are inks, and I don't think they're waterproof, because later when I'm putting in darker washes, I go in later with a brush, and like that's one of the things that you do when you paint sculptures a lot, is you just do like a dark wash at the end to get stuff into the cracks, and then you do like dry brushing, right? Um, and when I do like my washes, it just strips the color off, and I was like, oh, yeah, I was not expecting that. So yeah, basically when I did the airbrushing, I really just kind of put down a quick base coat. As you can see, it's not really, it's nothing special. Like I was just wanted to kind of, get a base color on there, and then I was gonna do a lot of more like, painting with all of these acrylic paints on top of it with a brush, because I actually know what I'm doing a little bit with a brush. A little bit, just maybe at least a little bit, sort of. So here I'm making the wash, and I'm just mixing water with brown acrylic matte paint, and yeah, and then I paint it all over. So yeah, and it's not like it fails. Like if I had just painted it on there and left it, nothing bad would have happened. I mean, except he would have been brown everywhere. But yeah, it's when I try to like lift things off, it gets kind of not good. So here you can see I'm just trying to dab with a paper towel, and I'm already like starting to go like, that looks really light. That's strange. But it like hasn't fully dawned on me that like I'm actually pulling all the previous layers off. Yeah. And it does look really cool, I think, right here. Obviously I have a lot more layering to do, but oh yeah, and I made a giant mess on my little Lazy Susan. But that is where I was like, holy cow, it just like wiped everything off of the bottom. And to be fair, I don't think the bottom was actually as dry as the top. So I think that might have been why it was so much easier to wipe that off the bottom. But yeah, anyways, so. And then I'm just going back through and painting in layers of other colors. Like I'm mixing green and brown here. Professionally, absolutely definitely where you can see me mixing my colors on screen for sure. Yes. Whew, I know I've been like extra like disjointed in this video, and I don't even know what to say. Like my thoughts are all over the place. I'm really nervous about this show, and it's like kind of consuming all of my thoughts. And yeah, yeah. Anyways, I really liked painting the carrot. I liked sculpting the carrot. I plan on doing a lot more sculpting in the near future. After the show. After the show. I have a lot of prep work to do for this. I have a lot of paintings I want to get done. Um, yeah, but I'm excited to be sculpting more, and I think this one turned out really cute. So I'd love to hear what you guys think of the carrot. Yeah. If there's anything that you have questions about, if there's anything you'd like to see come up in future videos, I would love to hear about it. I know I've been threatening this for a couple months, for a few months actually, since my cat got sick, but I am going to start a Patreon. One of the problems that I've had in the last few weeks, or the last week, is that my laptop basically died. Like, it just will not work anymore. So, like, I had to borrow a laptop from my friend in order to, like, get my fancy new printer to function at all, which it still isn't. Like, we can print, but it's not, like, it's not the best prints. Like, I know it can print better than what it's doing right now, so. And it's a really good printer, because it's, like, the ImageGraph Pro 300 from Canon, so it's a nice printer, and I'm really looking forward to seeing like what it can do. This is just me putting a wash on the rest of him with like a kind of mix of red and brown to kind of give him a more earthy look. And I do kind of skip a little bit here. I actually I paint his eyes like a brown, and then I put resin on them so they're shiny. But I apparently didn't film that, and I apologize. And I like give him a little bit of a kind of yellow glow on his like ears and his nose, because, they should stand out a little bit. Yeah, but other than that, I think we're pretty much getting to the end here. Here's some pigly. Oh, he's not a pig. He's a carrot. I still think he looks like a pig. Ah, that's annoying. But anyways, here's a little glamour shot footage. My favorite parts are his little back feet, I think, that definitely look very carroty to me. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, but overall, like, I am really happy with how he turned out. Um, I think, again, Nerdecrafter kit's awesome. Look at his little feet, and I love his little face with his little teeth. He's so cute. Yay! Yeah. And here's some outdoor glamour shots because it was a beautiful fall day and he wanted to go outside and take pictures. So I hope you guys have a really fabulous week, like a carrot watching the sunset. Bye bye.